Hello guys, welcome back to Esentaxa. In today's live, we are going to talk about the Italian tax strategies, in particular, how to have multiple incomes and make them like with a huge tax discount under the Impatriate regime. So basically, it's like applying the Impatriate regime on multiple sources of income. Today in this live, I'm going to talk about this topic. I'm going to explain you this really nice, interesting topic. And right after, if we have somebody asking questions, you can basically write us in the chat, and I will have some minutes to reply you back. First of all, I want to remind you, for those who will watch this live right after, in a second moment, Esentaxa talks about the Italian tax system, also about Belgian tax system, Portuguese tax system, and soon we're going to release the new jurisdiction, so stay tuned about the new zero tax jurisdiction that we are going to release in our channel. If you need any consultancy service, if you need more details about the certain kind of tax system in a certain country, or you want to planify a long tax strategy in Italy or in other countries, in the description below the video, you will find our email contact info@esentaxa.com, or you can book a 50-minute consultation call in which we can guide you through our services to understand exactly what is your situation and what you really need to optimize and minimize your taxation if you want to relocate in one of those jurisdictions. And lastly, you can also have the opportunity to purchase a video course that explains from A to Z everything about the Italian tax system with a very nice price. Basically, we can guide you through the entire Italian fiscal system. Also, in the video course, we talk a lot about the Impatriate regime. That the 90% on your global income. So basically, only 10% of your income will be taxed under RPF taxation. Second, if you move in the north of Italy or center of Italy, so up to the city of Rome, you will have this tax discount at the level of 70%. So only 30% of your income will be taxed. And then the social contribution, which is the hot topic here. Everybody is asking about the social contribution. And I understand why, because there is still this uncertainty about how we're going to calculate the social contribution in Italy. So, and the global revenue or after the deduction. Well, we know that as an employee, it's paid by their employer, so no problem. You will pay only a small amount on your payroll on your entire revenue, so it's 9.18%. And if you are self-employed, the only official way to understand how to calculate social contribution will be through the Italian software agencies that allows to accountant to submit the tax file return, in which autonomous work has this reduction, while entrepreneur type of income doesn't have this reduction. But still, it's under discussion among accountants. There is uncertainty, and to be on the safe side, with the majority of accountants, they prefer to calculate the Social Security on the entire amount, waiting for clarifications. So just to summarize quickly what was about the Impatriate regime, on discount level, it's huge. On fiscal point of view, it's a huge discount, especially if you have big incomes, especially if your revenue is bigger than 200,000 euro, 500,000 euro, just because up to 115,000 in 2023 is the upper limit for paying a social contribution. So above this limit, anyway, you won't pay social contribution at all. So if your income is around 500,000, of course, the Impatriate regime makes sense. You're going to pay something between 3, 4, 5% taxes with social contribution included, because if you make the calculation combining tax pressure plus social contribution pressure. Now, the focus of today's videos, of today's live, is the following. We have a client that asked us, I want to move to Italy, and I can self-certify that I have all the requirements to apply the Impatriate regime, especially the requirement of have a connection between the countries. So this guy was abroad, he wants to move to Italy, but he was employed by an Italian company. So he was invited in Italy, so it's a genuine repatriation. That makes sense. So he was fulfilled all the requirements to apply the Impatriate regime. But his question was the following: may I apply the Impatriate regime on income coming from employee type, and at the same time income coming from the self-employed type? So basically, this guy wants us to working with the new Italian company through which he was invited to Italy. So we had the connection for the a genuine repatriation thanks to this invitation, thanks to this connection. And on top of this, he wants to also keep working as a self-employed with the previous company that was set up in the United States. So, or regardless the country where this company was set up, but he was keep working. He wants to work as a self-employed in parallel with the Impatriate regime as an employee. So two kind of incomes, two kind of activity, one as an employee and one as a self-employed at the same time. It's not common, but it could happen. So here we don't know if the Impatriate regime can or cannot be applicable for at the same time for two type of incomes. Of course, both type of incomes in the law, it's explicitly written that it's possible to apply because the Impatriate regime works for income as an employee type and income as a self-employed type. Okay, so these are the only two type of incomes that you can use under Impatriate regime. But the question was, can I use both at the same time in parallel? Well, here in Esentaxa, we went through the tax clarification of the Italian tax agency. So we checked all the query made by the taxpayers, and we find one. I've exactly brought it here. This is how it looks like. Query from the to the Italian tax agency. How people ask to the Italian tax agency clarifications. Okay. I will put in the description below this video the link to this tax agency clarification. In Italian are known as CIRCOLARE. It's a number 33. So if you deal with Italian language, you can have a look. You can just put in some translators so you can have a nice read on this if you really want to go in details about this tax clarification. And on the page number 7, we have the answer of our client's problem. So I have just marked here the answer. It's page 7, but I would simply translate it to you. So the answer of the tax agency says, since the Impatriate regime works for both type of incomes, there is nothing that can obstacle the usage of both incomes at the same time. So the answer is yes. You can use the Impatriate regime as a self-employed and as an employee at the same time. You will always have to fulfill the requirements for both type of income. So the fact that you want to stay in Italy for 2 years, you have worked abroad 2 years ago, for 24 months consecutively, the link between the repatriation, all these requirements that we always check with our clients when we have consultancy services. This is very cool because basically you can have two types of income. They both flow into RPF taxation, but they are both discounted by 90%. So let's imagine, I can give you an example. You can have 100,000 euro as an employee, and this would fall into RPF taxation, and only 10,000 would be taxable. On 10,000 would fall into RPF taxation, and as a self-employed, you made like 200,000 euro, and only 20,000 euro will be falling in RPF taxation. So, which means that only 30k per year will be taxable, and 300,000 euro is the real revenue that you are having, that you are basically perceiving. So as you can see, it's a big discount that works also with two parallel incomes. And there's also another clarification here in the Italian tax agency. There is also another scenario that the taxpayer didn't ask, but the tax agency was quite kind to specify. They says that even if you start as an employee, because thanks to the connection of being valid in Italy with the Impatriate regime, you can also open in a second time a self-employed activity, not in the same year, but next year, 3 years after, and you can, in a second time, in a second moment, in a third tax year, start a parallel business, open a VAT position, and accumulate both incomes at the same time. And of course, exploit the Impatriate regime for both. Here I have to make a considerations. And here it's a nice tip that a lot of guys are not aware of. We know that the IMPS, unfortunately, to be on the safe side, it's calculated on the entire revenue. But the Italian law says that if you're running two activities in parallel, one as an employee and one as a self-employed, regardless of the Impatriate regime, this is a general rule for the social contributions payment, you can basically skip to pay the social contribution in one of those two. So it's true that you pay the social contribution on the entire revenue, but only on one of the two. For example, if you have a type of IMPS that you pay as an employee, you don't have to pay the employee IMPS on the self-employed type, regardless of the Impatriate regime. So basically, you can have the self-employed income almost tax-free, and you don't even pay the IMPS. And then we basically we don't have to anymore worry about this uncertainty if we need to pay the social security or not on the entire amount or on the reduced amount, simply because thanks to this law behind the social contribution structure, we can avoid to pay if we are employed by another company. It's a specific scenario. It's a narrow scenario. Not everybody can have two work at the same time. That's the reason why it's not so common. But it's a scenario that has to be taken into account in case of tax strategies. So I think I basically give you the most important information, the most important tips of how to avoid to pay Social Security twice if you have two income in parallel. Of course, not with all type of business this is possible. In a consultancy, you can contact us. We can basically analyze what kind of business you have. And based on your type of business, we see the type of IMPS, the type of social contribution. I've made a video on the social contribution here in Esentaxa, so you can see exactly how it works, the difference on all kinds of IMPS in Italy. So based on the type of IMPS, you can skip one of those if in parallel you are an employee, okay? So again, in the description below the video, you have our consultancy services. We can understand if in your case, you can skip some social contribution to pay, and on the top of it, you can also apply the Impatriate regime. Of course, if you apply the Impatriate regime, you cannot have other tax benefit at the same time. Here we are talking about the same tax benefit in parallel with two incomes, but with the same tax regime. But you cannot have the forfeit regime at the same time with the Impatriate regime, or you cannot have, for example, the high net worth individual tax regime and then exploit the forfeit regime afterwards or the Impatriate regime in the territorial basis. So as you can see here, we have to be very careful and we have to check when use only one specific tax regime. You cannot cross-check or combine multiple tax regimes, like such as Impatriate regime, forfeit regime, high net worth individual tax regime together, because the law in Italian law explicitly forbids this kind of combinations. But two types of income through the same tax regime, in case of Impatriate regime, the Italian Tax Agency just clarified with this nice tax query or tax clarification made by one of the Italian taxpayers. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. We just had a comment. Good content. Thank you, Jurai. Thank you very much. If you don't have anybody for questions, guys, then I think we can close this quick live. We always want to update you guys with this kind of content, with this kind of news. Thanks to this clarification, we can also plan some tax strategies. We can also allow you guys to see whether be self-employed as a first instance and then become an employee, or vice versa, how to skip to pay the IMPS. So stay tuned always in Esentaxa, subscribe the channel, notification bell, please. And if you also give us a like button, you will help us a lot to grow as a channel and have the resources and also the efforts to expand our knowledge in Italy, be more, let's say, effective and fast whenever there are new regulation news, some very nice tax tips that a lot of accountants are not willing to share. And we also now are working with other jurisdictions, as you may see if you're our followers. If you're following us since quite a lot of time, we moved to Portugal, Belgium, and soon it will be a surprise next week, a new jurisdiction that allows you to pay 0% tax on corporate level. So if Italy is not the right destination for you, based on your specific situation, you might choose a closer country, still in the Mediterranean area, that might be suitable for your situations. Of course, when you move in a different country, you have to take into account lifestyle, purchase, the cost of living, the weather, a lot of factors. But there are also clients that are just willing to find the jurisdiction where they pay less taxes, simply because sparing a lot of taxes allows them to double, triple their salary and make nice investments and have a very, very nice life. Okay, guys, I think we can stop the live. Thank you very much, and thanks for watching this live, and for those who will watch this live afterwards. Thank you. See you to the next video or to the next live. Hello, bye, Esentaxa.